Today, the biggest story is unfolding in Iran, and it could reshape the balance of power not just in the Middle East, but across the entire global stage. A coordinated US-Israeli strike has reportedly hit Iran's key Caspian Sea port of Bandar Anzali, a location that, until now, had remained largely untouched by direct military escalation. But this was not just another strike. It targeted something far more strategic, a hidden logistical artery that has quietly connected Russia and Iran for years. For a long time, the Caspian Sea served as a kind of safe zone, a closed corridor beyond the reach of Western naval forces. Unlike other maritime routes, it allowed Russia and Iran to operate with a level of freedom and secrecy that was nearly impossible elsewhere. Through this inland sea, both countries established a vital supply chain, one that bypassed sanctions, avoided surveillance, and enabled a steady flow of goods and military support. Oil, grain, dual-use technology, and increasingly weapons systems moved through this corridor. And at the center of it all was Bandar Anzali. This port acted as a key hub, linking northern Iran with Russian ports such as Astrakhan. It formed a critical segment of the international north-south transport corridor, a strategic trade network specifically designed to reduce dependence on Western-controlled shipping lanes. But that system has now been shaken. Reports indicate that Israeli forces targeted multiple layers of infrastructure within Bandar Anzali, including naval command centers, shipyards, missile boats, and patrol vessels. The scale of the damage suggests this was not just symbolic. It was meant to disrupt operations in a lasting way. And the consequences are already being felt. With port operations compromised, shipments are expected to slow down significantly. Insurance premiums for vessels operating in the region are likely to surge. Alternative ports, such as Amirabad, may absorb some of the traffic, but they were never designed to handle this level of pressure. The result? Bottlenecks, delays, and a supply chain that is far less efficient and far more exposed. But this story goes deeper than logistics. According to multiple intelligence assessments, Russia has recently increased its level of support to Iran, not just in terms of material, but also in information. This includes satellite imagery, targeting data, and real-time battlefield analysis. In modern warfare, this kind of intelligence can be just as valuable, if not more, than physical weapons. And there are signs that this support is already changing the battlefield. Recent Iranian strikes on US-linked targets in the Gulf region have shown a noticeable increase in coordination and effectiveness. Some reports suggest that Iranian forces are now applying tactics refined during Russia's war in Ukraine, including drone saturation attacks designed to overwhelm air defense systems. This involves launching large numbers of drones simultaneously, forcing defenses to split their attention and increasing the likelihood that some will get through. If true, this represents a dangerous evolution, one where lessons from one conflict are rapidly being transferred into another. Naturally, this raised alarms in Washington. In response, the United States reportedly attempted to open negotiations with Moscow, aiming to reduce Russian involvement on Iran's side. The goal was clear: limit intelligence sharing, slow down the transfer of advanced drone technology, and prevent further escalation. But those talks didn't last long. Russia countered with its own condition, that the US should also stop providing intelligence support to Ukraine. For Washington, this was a non-starter, and just like that, diplomacy collapsed. What followed appears to be a calculated shift from negotiation to direct action. The strike on Bandar Anzali was not only about disrupting logistics, it was also a signal. A message directed not just at Tehran, but at Moscow. It said, "Even your most secure routes are no longer out of reach." This marks a significant turning point. For years, the Caspian Sea had been viewed as a protected rear area, a space where Russia could operate without fear of interference. But that assumption no longer holds. If strikes can reach this far, it changes the strategic equation entirely. Now, Russia may be forced to rely more heavily on land-based routes, which are slower, more expensive, and far easier to monitor or disrupt. At the same time, its ability to support allies, especially in active conflict zones, is being tested. And that brings us to the bigger picture. Because what we are seeing is not just a localized escalation, it is the gradual merging of multiple conflict zones into a broader, interconnected confrontation. The war in Ukraine, tensions in the Middle East, rivalries between global powers. They are no longer separate. They are beginning to overlap. And when that happens, the risks increase dramatically. Because actions in one region can trigger consequences in another. A strike in Iran can affect supply chains linked to Russia. Russian support can influence conflicts involving US forces. And every move adds another layer of complexity. There is also the question of escalation. As Russia becomes more involved in supporting Iran, whether through intelligence, technology, or military coordination, the chances of direct confrontation with the United States increase. Not necessarily through a single dramatic event, but through a series of smaller steps, each one raising the stakes, each one narrowing the space for de-escalation. And that's what makes this moment so critical. Because we may be witnessing the early stages of a shift from regional conflicts to something much larger. A global contest of influence, supply chains, and military coordination, where logistics become targets, where alliances are tested, and where no route, no matter how secure it once seemed, is truly safe anymore. For now, the full impact of the strike on Bandar Anzali is still unfolding. But one thing is clear. The rules of the game are changing, and the consequences could extend far beyond the shores of the Caspian Sea. If you want to stay ahead of global conflicts and understand what's really happening behind the headlines, make sure to follow the channel and turn on notifications.